Hello, everybody. Welcome to our first episode of Integrator Insights. This series is designed to explore the experiences of integrators shaping the landscape of modern control technology. We're going to have candid conversations with integrators who will share valuable insights and inspirations and reveal and review actual and real projects. So today's first guest and our first honoree of our first ever series is Larry Supon from Automated Lifestyles. And Larry, I'm just going to give you a quick background, if you don't mind, Larry. He's founded Automated Lifestyles in 2000 after graduating from Lehigh University with a bachelor's degree in electrical engineering. He began his career by programming industrial automation systems for factories worldwide. He leads a team of 15 amazing employees, and he's got an amazing operation. I've been there myself, and remains deeply involved in sales and design for the custom, residential, and commercial projects. Larry believes in creating memorable experiences and lifelong relationships. Outside of work, he enjoys traveling abroad with his children, skiing, attending Red Sox and Steelers games. So, Larry, welcome, and can't thank you enough for being our first guest.
Hey, thank you, Patrick. Thank you, Trip, and glad to be a part of this. Being a part of the integrator community is a great thing. I've had a lot of people help me over the years, and my goal is to try to help those who are joining this call today. And looking forward to it. Thank you.
Awesome. We're glad you're with us. And also with us there, traveling as usual, is Trip Spate. He's our East Coast Regional Manager, so he covers everything east of the Mississippi, and also works with Larry Supon, in a regional role for our company. So Trip, welcome. Thanks for jumping on. I know you're at an airport, so appreciate you jumping on and being a part of this as well. So Larry, if you would, I kind of hit the highlights of your background, but tell us a little bit about how you became an integrator. Maybe why, what went into that caused you to take this path?
Yeah, sure, Patrick. Like you said, my background is electrical engineering. I graduated from a university in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania called Lehigh University, and it's actually only about 10 minutes away from Lutron's headquarters, oddly enough. I kind of remember having an interview with Lutron when I graduated, and it didn't pan out, but it was my first understanding of what lighting control was, in the 90s, going to their facility. It was kind of always in the back of my mind about, what could be. But I kind of took the industrial automation route from there. I worked for a worldwide company who was building, factories, plants, they were in gold, diamond mining, things like that. And I was one of the automation engineers. So interesting enough, similar to a lot of us integrators today, you had a user interface with graphics and buttons, and we tried to make it simple, and an operator would press a button, and behind the scenes we had a logic controller that was running some macros and starting up equipment. So I was kind of in the automation world from the get-go, and it was a lot of fun. It was definitely very challenging, but doing a lot of worldwide travel, it was always in the back of my mind is where could I take this technology and start a family, be in my own sleep, my own bed at night, tuck the kids in, and that's what kind of led me to founding Automated Lifestyles in 2000.
Sure. Wow, that's quite a background.
Yeah, that's incredible, Larry, and really appreciate you kind of sharing your benchmark there. You mentioned you had kind of always been around, automation, but how did you take that and kind of move into becoming an integrator?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I love technology and figuring things out, and realizing that's what we do as integrators every day is we're presented with challenges, and it's up to us to come up with solutions. So it really seemed to be a natural fit. There were some great magazines back in the 90s, and I used to read those magazines, all the time. And it was just, it seemed like a really exciting field, and I love it to this day.
Yeah, and I talked to a lot of people about, back in the day, all the layers were their separate layers. There was a home theater person and a security person and a network person and a whole house audio person. How did you kind of take that integration direction and add up all those layers and start Automated Lifestyles?
Yeah, I mean, coming from the industrial world, it was very similar because in order to control anything, you need to understand all the different subsystems, right? So if you're going to The same applied to the residential. Like you said, if we're going to try and give somebody one app, you need to understand how the HVAC system works, what the lighting system works, so you're kind of part of all those systems in some fashion because you're responsible to integrate them. And that's really, probably just like most people here, you start somewhere and we started in automation,
Right.
and then we eventually got into security because we didn't maybe feel comfortable with it or initially. And then you do it and you feel comfortable, and it's one more thing that you can add to your repertoire.
Well, you end up becoming the glue, right, for all of those layers. And speaking of that, and adding one more thing to your portfolio, how did you get to where you decided to add the lighting layer to your portfolio?
Yeah, so we've been doing lighting control since the beginning. We've been using, let's say,
Early
Lutron,
adopter.
Homeworks, and things like that. And you talk about when we say, one of the things we tell our customers is memorable experiences is one of the things that we're looking to deliver. And to be honest, we were getting disappointed with the end result. The scenes weren't what they should have been. We were dependent on the lighting that was being installed, and we realized that we really weren't delivering the experience that we had hoped for our customers.
Right.
So when the wheels started to turn about lighting, and then you get a little cautious because you're not really, I'll say we didn't view ourselves at all as lighting experts, but just because we were doing lighting control, I felt that the builders and the electricians, they kept referring to us as, hey, you guys are the lighting guys and lighting experts, simply
Sure.
because we were doing control. And then we said maybe we should embrace this opportunity. And back in 2015, we actually did our first color changing theater room. We kind of got a little taste of that and a little bit of tape lighting and things like that. And from there, we did some projects in January 2021. We started doing some work with Blue Dog. Was an engineering firm that some people may know of, other integrators out there. But they're the ones that kind of pointed us in a direction. They said, "Have you ever heard of Light Can Help You?"
Mm-hmm.
And we hadn't at the time. And we did reach out to Mark Langston and David Warfel from Light Can Help You, and realized that as lighting designers, they were the missing piece for us. And that, if we partnered together, which is what we did, then our lighting really started to take off, from there, from the interior lighting design.
Yeah. Well, I think it goes to show that even as somewhat of an early adopter, right, you still want to use the resources that you have out there, right, to propel you, into that next stratosphere, if you will, and kind of on that note, whether you're an early adopter or whether you're right on the precipice of adopting the layer, how does automated, start to choose the products that were right for what projects you were building, the integration you were doing? How did you get there to kind of decide on the products you were using?
Well, we also are a ProSource vendor as well, so we wanted to support some of the ProSource brands first. So we wanted to educate ourselves on those brands, but we also did want to rely on the lighting designer because the first, let them help pick some of the products. We might give them a direction and say we'd like to use these 4 or 5 brands, for instance, and can you put something together based on those brands? And then we trusted them to do, it was kind of a collaboration, but we did trust them to use the proper fixtures of those brands, and that's really where we started.
Yeah, I think being able to address, we talked about it last week, actually down in the Florida market, but kind of addressing that collaborative gap, the stakeholders that are involved and bringing everybody together. So that's interesting to hear. Patrick?
Yeah, so Larry, it sounds like obviously they're a huge help in doing the full design and things like that. I think they pretty much communicate a lot with your customers, right, to help select the right components and things like that. To Tripp's question, okay. And you're probably working on some jobs you feel comfortable with handling. I think that's kind of where we're at in the industry as a whole, is as integrators get more and more experience, they're comfortable doing some jobs and soliciting lighting designers on others. That seems to be pretty common. So that makes perfect sense. So in the process, overall, you're dealing with customers, you're talking to them about obviously a lot of different things. What's your process? What's Automated Lifestyle's process to introduce lighting, to talk about lighting, move forward with your clients, whether it's comfort or choosing or why are you my lighting guy? How do you handle that when you're dealing with customers? I think that'll help a lot of our listeners today.
Sure. I mean, I think, I might dive into that a little deeper. So I'll break it down to architects, designers as one category, builders possibly as another category, and then the homeowner as a third category. Because sometimes it depends who we're talking to. We're trying to reach all of them at the same time. I think it first starts as a mindset. We decided that we wanted to be the area experts in lighting in our area. So with that mindset and vision, how are we going to get there? So if I first tackle the architect designers, we decided to participate in AIA seminars and hosted seminars. Trip, I know you've been out to our seminars before, and
I have.
you supported us and manning a table, and we would give CEU credits to architects, maybe do a half-day event and give 3 CEUs and give breakfast and lunch, and in between breaks, demoing and showing off product and all the different trims that were available and things that they were interested in. So as far as the architect designer market, that was where we first started. We realized that it was getting harder to get architects to leave the office, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So we've pivoted this year to going to their office. So, we're now doing lunch and learns and CEUs, and it's actually working out better because instead of having one architect leave the firm and come to one of our seminars, we're going to them and getting 7 or 8 architects, and providing lunch, and we're getting all their attention in a shorter time. So I'll say that's the first part of how we tackled the architect design community and a process of how we were trying to educate them so that, position ourselves as the area experts on lighting. When it came to builders, a little bit of a different story. Of course, they're not interested in the CEUs. So we've got to educate them on, of course, how the lighting can really change the beauty of all the finishes and the hardwood floor and the granite countertops that they're putting in. But for us, it's more about what can we take off their plate, So instead of having them walk around with the electrician and spend a whole day doing electrical walkthrough and then have to come back and procure all the parts and then have to get everything to the job site, we kind of take the approach of, if you bring us in, we're doing all of that. We're going to do the design. We're going to manage your electrician. We're going to bring all the product to the site, and our warehouse team does an amazing job of labeling everything, by room, by location, and if there's millwork involved, we're also involved in all those details, working with their team to make sure the wires are in position. So it's kind of a little different approach for the builders, just trying to take something off their plate, make their life easier, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So before you talk about the clients, Larry, the architects, you're doing CEUs, obviously, which gets you in the door, gets you into communication with them, and then taking a few minutes before or after, I would assume, to talk about the technology of lighting. And because I know architects, I mean, look, they're incredibly talented people, but most of them are not versed in lighting, and they're putting incredible features in some of these luxury homes that could look fantastic or maybe not so fantastic. So I know that's a process all in itself. And then the builders too, that's a great approach. A lot of the integrators we talk to around the country are having those kind of same situations, like where do I go? How do I start? And every market's a little bit different. So you sharing some of these approaches means a lot. And then I didn't mean to interrupt you, but what's your approach to the clients? How do you take that road?
Yes, so when we do get the opportunity to speak to the client directly, which of course is the ultimate goal, is then we talk about lighting early and often. We'll show them photos of other projects. We let them know that it's our favorite product because we believe the value's there. I mean, we all custom integrators, we all do amazing sound systems and theaters, etc. But I usually tell people that lighting is my favorite product because I use it every single night. I may not use the theater once a week or something, but the value is there. You'll enjoy this every single evening. So once we kind of get their interest, then we try to bring in the lighting design team, which who we're using light can help you and help us with that educational aspect, and essentially, part of finding what the customer is looking for, and then usually it leads to, they are interested when they see the results and they see how it benefits them. It's just getting them on an initial 30-minute Zoom call and letting them make the choice, and giving them some pricing options. But that's been our approach with the homeowner.
Yeah, it's interesting, Larry. So we tell integrators around the country, and this might be a little short-sighted because obviously we're biased. We sell lighting, right? We know the difference it can make, and we're trying to share that. But you can help people hear sound or hear songs better. You can help them watch a movie better. But when they leave that room, that experience is over. And lighting is the one single thing, we're very evangelistic about it, that can actually change people's lives, help them sleep better, relax better, and enjoy family time together, or work better, or paperwork, or whatever it is. And so it's really refreshing and fun for us to be able to see integrators come into this and the aha moments that happen, and then getting as passionate about it as you are and sharing that. It's really exciting for us.
Yeah, one of the things too, just for throwing integrators on the line here, the I don't know if can you guys hear me there? Might have gone in and out a second there. Sorry about
Just
that.
for a second, you did, yes.
Just for a sec. Yep. Okay.
Okay. They're sometimes they're tough to get a hold of, but one of the things that we've been working on is, we just sometimes just stop in with Kevin, who's on our residential sales consultant, and we just put together with our team some, like, we call them builder box, and we've got snacks in there, non-perishables, and we'll just kind of show up with some beef jerky and peanuts, things like this, and just like, hey, we've got a little something for you to get through the day. Can we just get 10 minutes of your time? And that allows us just to have that initial conversation. Usually they'll give us 10 minutes, and now we can set up a follow-up meeting. But they're tough to get a hold of to schedule meetings, so sometimes stopping in and just is another alternative way to get their attention.
Larry, you cut out for just a second, though. You were referring to who in particular? Builders, you said, when you're taking
builders. That is correct. Yes.
Yeah. So you're making their job easier. You're filling their stomach and making their day a little better. Kind of a multi-pronged approach that's just really, truly just human nature, just being nice to people. And instead of trying to say, "Hey, look, let me tell you about what's in it for me," it's more about what's in it for you and how can I help you. And then word of mouth referral for them as well. If they build a better house and deliver a better project, is going to reward everybody.
That's right, Patrick.
Yeah, it speaks to the little things, on the peripheral that are going to help you become the further resource for them, right? The little things that other than your expertise, the products that you use, the layers that you're applying, things like that. So kind of thinking about the automated expertise, right? Can you expand on how you kind of use your creativity and your expertise depending on that particular layer you're concentrating on?
Sure. Maybe I could even give you a few examples of that. It makes me think about off the top of my head, but we all know creativity, right, is about creating visual interest in a space. What draws your eye, or things, how you feel in that space. We have a project right now where Light Can Help You is not involved. Let's say a homeowner has a gallery that, as you enter her home, it's a long hallway. And she's, when we talk to her and we ask her what she's looking for, she's like, hey, I want to, maybe one week it might be, photos of long lost friends who are coming to visit me. And 2 weeks later, it may be paintings that the grandkids had done for me. And she wants to vary this gallery. It's not a permanent gallery. So as we kind of understood that, we actually went to the Ventrix. We approached WAC and said, hey, the Ventrix might be a really good solution here, because we can slide the fixtures down on a rail track. She can make some adjustments, very easy to use. And so that was just a way to kind of, we saw the demo of your Ventrix product, and that was a really nice fit to give her the flexibility she needed in this one space. We also had a church recently where they had asked us just to do lighting control, and we went there and we said, what fixtures are we controlling?
Mm-hmm.
And they said, oh, we have these 5,000 lumen 0 to 10 volt fixtures control. And we walked up to the stage and we saw that they had a band, and the band was using DMX lighting just to accent the front wall of the church,
Sure.
some stone. And we were like, well, have you thought about, because the wiring is essentially the same, what if instead of turning that front wall blue for the church, the whole church felt that blue, and the blue came over and totally changed the feeling of that space. And once we talk, you have those conversations, and they kind of come to you in the moment, but then you can share those with people, and they seem to resonate, and that's where some of the creativity comes into these spaces.
Nice. Yeah, that church market is a big one, right? How they're experiencing the sanctuary or wherever they are on that Wednesday night or Sunday morning, for sure.
Yeah, it's true. And even we didn't talk too much about exterior. I know you guys of course have a great line with the exterior lighting, but landscape lighting is a big thing for us as well. And you think about the creativity there. I don't know, a lot of our listeners here, I don't know if they've ever heard of the International Landscape Lighting Institute. I mean, that was back in the day when we wanted to get knowledge. We went to the International Landscape Lighting Institute seminars, and it's like, hey, you've got a lot of theory during the day, and then at nighttime you get to apply it, and you get to go out there and spend evening after evening, working on it and focusing things. But that it kind of teaches you, when we talk about creativity, maybe you're at someone's home and you see a gazebo off in the distance, instead of lighting up that pathway to the gazebo, like a runway or something, it's like, hey, let's highlight the gazebo. Let's create a destination and, make the pathway subtle lighting. Maybe it's, down lighting from a tree or reflected lighting off of trees, but you should be able to look out in the landscape and know where that destination is, where you want to go. It shouldn't be everything lit up, for instance. So that's where some of the creativity comes in, and finding the right lighting for that space.
Yeah, that's a great. You said runway lighting, Larry, and we used to use that in when we would train with landscape lighting. The little pagodas. Malibu used to be the company to go to. You could buy a kit at Home Depot or Lowe's. These Malibu lights, they were called pagodas, and they were actually designed in Wichita, Kansas, as runway lighting for airplanes. So in my trainings, I would always say, look, if you come home at night after a few too many drinks and you got to land your Oldsmobile in your driveway, that's exactly what you want. But that is not landscape lighting. Landscape lighting is artistry. And a lot of people don't understand, and I don't mean to segue here, but I'm going to thank you for leading me into that, but unknowingly. But landscape lighting, people spend 5 to 10% of the cost of the overall project on the landscape outside. So on a $10 million luxury home, 500,000 to $1 million is in the landscape. And people take as much pride in picking out the Japanese maple or flowering dogwoods or statues or water features as they do the architectural features of the home. And if you're sitting in your home with no light outside, it's called the black mirror effect. You see yourself. And when you also extend the living area, when we light the outside and we do it tastefully, we provide safety, security, usability, any changes in elevation. So it's multifaceted what landscape lighting provides. So that's awesome that you mentioned that. And we had no idea you were going to mention that, but thank you for doing so. I appreciate that. So let me get to the big question, the big wind up, and here's the pitch. Let's go for the grand slam, because this is what really excites me probably as much as anything, but maybe other integrators here too, wondering if they should go down this road, or how far down this road they should go. How do homeowners react to the finished product? You've talked to them. Maybe you solicited Light Can Help You to join. The architect's on board. The builder's like, yep, this is working out great. The big aha moment, or maybe that first night they're in the space. I mean, can you describe that at all? How you feel, or how they feel, what their reactions are? Because most people don't know good lighting.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, I don't know, it's almost a little bit indescribable in words, but when someone will tell you that, it was the best thing they did, their best money that they spent, and how we actually have a project that we use the AiSPIRE's tunable white in, and we only did the RGB cove, in the foyer. the living room and the kitchen that were adjoining. That was the only color changing light. The rest was just tunable white. And the homeowner moved in. We of course demoed everything and had all the scenes preset. And oddly enough, he decided to build a pool house for the pool. And the pool house typically is just an outbuilding, not like an afterthought when it comes to lighting. He loved that lighting so much that he decided to do full RGB tunable
Mhm.
everything in the pool house and just make it a fun space. So that was just our validation that, he everything we did in the main house was, made a huge difference in his life. Not sure why my internet's going there. Sorry, but he just wanted to, bring that to a fun spot to spend with his family and enjoy.
Oh, we got you back. There we
Yeah,
are.
yeah,
All right.
yeah. That's awesome. I appreciate that kind of description, like, because people, we talk about this all the time. People will be in their home, and because it's behind the wall, there's a switch, maybe a keypad. They're trying to read something, and like, the lighting is terrible in here, and they move somewhere else, or they complain, but they don't know how to put their finger on, or maybe don't understand there's a better way because it's always just been in the space. You're in a restaurant and you have to turn your phone on, to see the menu. And there's people who get irritated with bad lighting, but I don't know if they actually connect the dots. And I'm sure you will attest to this. And other integrators have had the same experience. Once people have had good lighting, that is the primary, most important thing, going forward in the house. Even I think they would sacrifice even audio or video to have good lighting. That it's just how do we get them over that hump to understand that, and it's great to hear the rewards when they get there.
Yeah, that's very true. I find the same thing. That's just like it's our favorite product, it becomes their favorite, thing that they put into the home as well.
Yeah. Once the realization is there, it's just kind of mind blowing for them. And that's when you see it. That's when you see their experience kind of come to life. And you had mentioned a couple of different things. You had mentioned Ventrix. You had mentioned the tunable product. You had mentioned landscape. But can you talk about how, kind of partnering with AiSPIRE, WAC, Modern Forms fans portfolio is kind of, supported and strengthened what you're able to do in that space?
Sure. I mean, AiSPIRE has been an awesome supporter for our business. I know he's maybe not part of this too, but Jason Harris, our local rep, he's always there for us. But your whole team has been really amazing. When I think of, Trip, like I said, you've been out to support us, with, architect seminars and, CEU type related things. Patrick, I know you've been to our shop, with coffee and donuts at 6:45 in the morning to, educate our technicians and make everybody feel comfortable with the technology. And you spent 3 hours, just talking through all the details and bringing in Mark Moody from the DMX programming portion, and just making everybody on our team feel comfortable because we as an integrator, we take the first step, but then it's a team approach, of course, and I have a great team and they understand everything that's got to happen as well. But in order for them to feel comfortable, it was really all the support we leaned on your team, and you basically, did what you need to do to make our team feel comfortable. So, and then we even had some tech support issues on site, a couple things that we had to figure out, and we called you guys. And so just, a great partner to lean on to help you get through these projects and to feel comfortable. For us, AiSPIRE has been the perfect fit.
Appreciate that very much. Yeah, appreciate that very much, Larry. And for those of you on the call, those of you that are watching Larry today, I mean, Larry's I think one of the kindest, nicest and greatest people on the planet. He's and I don't say that just whether he buys our product or not. He's willing to help. He's willing to share knowledge, share what he's learned. He was our first choice to be on this webinar, and he was more than enthusiastic to say, if I can help other people, if I can help other integrators find their way, understand, maybe some tips he's given that would help other people. He was just really enthusiastic to do that. So I appreciate that very much, Larry, and I know everybody else does in the call. We'd like to save a few minutes here to just open it up. If anybody has any questions for Larry, that they'd like to type in the chat, we would love to have it. I know Larry's more than open to it. Or if you see him at trade shows, want to communicate with him, I know he would be open to that as well. But we'll take just a few minutes and see if anybody types in any questions, Larry. And very appreciative of you taking time out of your day to do this. Any other tips or tricks you might want to share off the top of your head, or any other notes you had that you wanted to kind of share with people viewing?
I think, when I talk about the opportunity there, it's funny, we start looking at our projects, one by one. In fact, I was just talking to our residential salesperson, Kevin, yesterday on another quote. And, when we look at lighting and lighting control lumped together, we're kind of seeing this routinely that, it's probably approaching 50% of our business now. So it's a very substantial number, and it's a really great opportunity, when you kind of look at the whole mixture of, between, landscape lighting control fixtures, everything. It's definitely an opportunity that you don't want to miss.
That's awesome, because Larry, to your point, first of all, that's huge, and I hope people, if they take away a lot from what you've shared today with everybody, but I hope they take that away too, because we also have integrators that are saying 70%, 80%. So us out of the picture as a manufacturer, the lighting category in itself, it can be very profitable. There's a learning curve. There's definitely some time, like you've dedicated training and time with builders and time with architects, and a few tech support issues as you learn this. So that's definitely part of this. But people that are doing it, it's rapidly become a major portion of their business. So one of the questions, Larry, that just came in is any advice on handling electrical contractors or general contractor conflicts? How have you handled any of those? Have you run into any of those?
Yeah, we don't have any electricians on staff, so we prepare our detailed drawings so that any electrician can help us install on the 120 volt side of things. We had some hesitancy when we first got into this, that, just to be honest with you, we were worried about stepping on someone's toes, things like that. Mm-hmm. So especially the electrician, because, we've worked with them for so many years on a lot of projects. And we realized that, as we talked to them, they really didn't want to supply the fixtures. They really didn't want to get involved with that. Like, it was more of a burden for them. They made their money on labor. And then for them have to go, and usually in the evening or something, or take time, write POs, they were maybe doing, cost plus 10% or something like that. So, with we explained to them when we got the lighting designer involved, and now there's multiple layers of light. Instead of having maybe 65 circuits in a home, it might have turned into 165 circuits. So they were thrilled because, the labor went up drastically on some of the jobs, because instead of just having, 3 or 4 circuits in a kitchen, there might be 8 or 9, and then you kind of multiply that through the space. So we even offered early on, and continue to offer them to do low voltage tape lighting labor install. And oddly enough, every single one they've declined. They're like, hey, why don't you guys take care of the low voltage tape lighting as well and do all the install? They're happy with doing all the line voltage and that aspect. So what we thought was going to be a concern has definitely not been a concern. And with regard to general contractors, kind of what we talked about, where the pain point of them having to do all that and all that time that it takes, again, same thing, we take that off their plate and make them a part of it. Then it's really been a win-win-win across the board for electrician, contractor, and ourselves.
Yeah, and that was a great question, Dan. Thank you for asking that. So, Larry, that was a great answer. We run into that a lot with integrators concern. Do you have those conversations up front with those guys? I think that's really key, rather than thinking you're stealing their business. When you kind of lay it out, I think the conversation up front changes the entire dynamic of the relationship, and they can bring you in on projects where there's low voltage. Like you said, they don't want to touch the tape, and you need them on your line voltage side,
Yeah, working together,
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, I don't see any other questions at the moment, Larry. We'll hold on for just a second here. Anything else you can think of you want to share?
No, I just want to maybe give a little shout out to my team at Automated Lifestyles. I mean, we've You can't do things alone. I've got a really amazing team of, like you said, of 15 people who, I really enjoy working with every day. We support each other, and we're big on upfront engineering and design, doing it right the first time, but it takes a whole team to, from the warehouse team to the project managers and the installers to deliver the experience you're looking for. And our team really does love lighting. So I think, once your team gets into it, you'll feel that same passion when you see the experience you're delivering in the end. But it does take a team effort for sure.
And Larry, I'll second that to your team
Here,
because
here.
I've done a lot of trainings. We've done a lot of trainings at integrators all over the country, and distributors and architects and CEUs. We've done a lot of things all over the place. But I'll tell you, it's 6:45 in the morning in your warehouse with a TV set up for this training. The entire team was bought in, interested, attentive. There are times occasionally the warehouse guys doesn't really care because he's just delivering boxes, or the programmers are like, I do the programming, I don't need to know about that portion. But your team was incredibly involved, enthusiastic, asked solid questions. I mean, they were there, they were bought in, and they were there. So that was awesome. I'll second that. You have a phenomenal team. And one other question just
Thank you.
came in, Larry. When discussing lighting fixtures and design with a homeowner at the planning and framing phase, what are some key things or phrases you say or you ask them to get them engaged? So they've sold lighting control really well, this particular person, but they haven't moved into lighting fixtures. So they're like, what are the keywords, the buzzwords, or stories that you use to connect with the homeowner they can relate to?
Yeah, that's a good question, because I actually do tell a true story of, of our side of, like, hey, we've been doing lighting control forever, and we had to get into lighting because we realized lighting was so bad, and we want to deliver a great experience to you. And that's the nice way to introduce your lighting designer, because it's like, hey, we've partnered with a lighting designer to make sure we're still the boots on the ground. We're the one who is accountable, and we're going to manage everything, but they're an extension of us. And and then the homeowners, once we kind of educate them a little and give a little bit of that, what could be, we talk about maybe experiences in their home and just give them a few ideas. It's usually just generating that first interest. And for our goal, it's to get them on a Zoom call and meet the Like and Help You team, and to get them engaged. But we just, again, tell that story that we don't view ourselves as a lighting design ourselves. We need that branch, but we know that with that lighting design team and our team, we can deliver an amazing lighting experience in your home, and that's just the approach that we take with a homeowner.
Sure. Larry, is there a bad example you give to them that they might be able to relate to when you say terrible lighting? You don't want them to have terrible lighting. Is there a story? I always have told the story in many of my trainings, and I'm going to tell it here nationally now about a time when my wife and I were first married, and we had a small home, and I didn't have integrated lighting by any means, and I had to be at a trade show at 6 a.m. So I was up. I was at 4:30. I was pulling my shoes out of the closet quietly in the dark. I was already loaded up. I was on the road, set up at 5:30. The trade show starts at 6 a.m. I'm ready. My table's all set. I walk around in front to admire my work, and I look down and I have a black shoe on and a brown shoe on. And I stood behind the table the rest of the day. I didn't even go to lunch because I was so embarrassed about wearing two different color shoes. It's an absolute true story. So is there a story in particular you relate to homeowners to say, like, look, this is just an example? Because anybody could feel free to share that one if they'd like to.
Yeah, I mean, we more take the approach of, we'll talk about I'll call it the disc light, that everyone's using. And we just kind of we'll show some examples of the disc light and how, it's basically creating glare and how it really doesn't push the light to the floor. We kind of show them a visual of that, of that recessed lighting really should be recessed, just like landscape lighting. You don't want to see the source of the light. You want to see the result of the light. And, once they understand that, the physics, you can't have a great light that's, pushing light to the floor, that it needs to be, a little deeper, and it can't just be, 1 inch thick. And we kind of talk about some educational aspect there. And then that, it's like, well, that's what most people are doing. Would you like better lighting? Would you like to see what that would look like? And, kind of getting their interest of, because a lot of people are seeing the disc lights and what the other builders are doing, and that's like, let's do something different here that really, you're building a great home, and let's put some great lighting into match. So it's just kind of the approach that we take, is just, that's the example of bad lighting.
Just to share one other thing, an integrator shared this with me. I can't take credit for it, but an integrator shared this with me. So for the person that asked the question, and it really resonated, because if I think about myself with any particular hobbies or interests or things I have, or my wife with things that are important to her, they try to engage the homeowner and they say, tell me about the materials you're using on your countertop, or tell me about your cabinets. And so obviously most people are very excited about this home they're building, a $5 million, $10 million home. And they get super excited about it. They go into the what the surfaces are, the materials, the finish on the cabinets, the floorings. And then the follow-up to that is, obviously we're not going to light this with $30 disc lights, because something of this magnitude requires proper lighting. And so they kind of lead into it that way with, you're so proud of all of this stuff. Why would you put this cheap light on? And to your point, Larry, you make an excellent point. Disc lights are surface lights. They're not recessed at all. And in some cases, it's kind of been slid in as a recessed light, even though it's not, and charged as a recessed light. It's a surface mount light, and it's omnidirectional. So especially on high ceilings, it can make the room feel gray and foggy, and not push that light down. So that's a great story that you share.
Thank you.
So, Trip, anything else you want to add, or anything you want to wrap up with Larry here?
No, I just wanted to thank Larry for sharing the experience, sharing your time. I know that it means a lot to our teams up at WAC and AiSPIRE, but more importantly to those, on the line that are trying to figure out what their next steps are. So we really appreciate you laying that knowledge on us, sir.
Sure, I'm happy to help. Anybody who's on this call, I can just give you my email. It's larry@automated-lifestyles.com. Send me an email with your contact info, and happy to set up a time and happy to help you. It's a great community we have with custom integrators, and I've had others help me. I'd love to be able to help you as well.
Yeah, Larry, let me wrap up with one thing. We had one final question. An attendee got on the call a little late. They want to get into lighting. They're looking for the best way to set up a demo room, good lighting, possibly examples between good and bad lighting, struggling with how to set up that space and tell the story visually. So I know we have some ways that we've done it. We'll be showing it again in our booth in CEDIA at CEDIA this year, where we show different styles of lighting. And we talk about the 4 experiences. You don't do the same thing in every room of the house. Why would you put the same light in every room of the house? And we try to get a space, not to be 65 holes in a ceiling in a demo room, but more how do they feel it, and how do they use it? Do you have any tips you'd like to share in regards to that?
Yeah, I think, depending where you are, if you're not in a demo space, I think just kind of educating them a little bit about the difference between lighting layout and lighting design, and just talking about how a lot of people are lighting the floor and they're not really creating the visual interest, and when you kind of throw that out there about, say, the kitchen example, and everyone putting the lighting, between the kitchen and the, on the walkways, I'll say, but they're not really hitting the countertops, or they're not hitting, with where the lighting should be. And then, if we can, then we'll bring some photos, of course, for there. We'll show them the before and an after of some different models. And now that's just how you're generating, you're creating yourself to be an expert, and how we can help them start the journey. It's really, that first part there, I think, is just letting people understand, because they think, they originally think, oh, we've got lighting done, our architect did that. And then, when you kind of talk about, they did lighting layout, and maybe they did a permit set, and it's really not the lighting that's designed for your home and your needs, and there is a difference, then they start to understand that, I believe.
Yeah, that's a great point. And we can, as a company, we will help provide some lighting design assistance. If somebody has a room and you work with us, contact your local rep or contact us at AiSPIRE, sales@aispire.com, and we'll try to help with that. And then also, I know there are large firms like Can Help You that will do complete design for integrator showrooms, depending on what caliber you want to go to. So 2 other questions came in, one for us, Larry, and one for you. Let's do the one for you first, because that's why we're here. Can you share one of your favorite projects where lighting integration significantly transformed the space? and were there any key takeaways from that project? Obviously, you talked about the pool house. The guy was so excited he used it additionally, but any
Yeah, I
other
mean, I
favorite
think
projects?
I do think of that project initially just because there were some really cool features, just like the living room. We had we hit the toe kick lighting, and we had the TV was inset, and we had some really cool lighting in the TV inset, and he had a bunch of built-in bookshelves. So there were probably 15 different layers of light in that space. And when we started to hit the different scenes, we had like a turntable area, and it was just a really cool, we had a really cool vibe in that space. But being able to take that lighting, like you said, not only inside, but then having seen the customer wanting it. We're actually doing landscape lighting now after finishing the pool house. So it's just the appreciation for the lighting in general has carried through, not only the main house, the pool house, but now the exterior. So the appreciation of the lighting. Mhm.
Yeah. So two other questions came in. One was talking about WAC and also AiSPIRE. AiSPIRE is the integrator only brand for of a WAC, a subsidiary of WAC, and it's not sold through distribution or online. They were asking about, they might be able to start small, but maybe not enter in a big way. So I would recommend, again, sales@aspire.com. We can get you in touch with your local rep, and we can definitely work with you at any size, any stage in the project. So it could be a small start, it could be a large start, or anywhere in between. We're definitely here to help and work with you on the level that makes sense for that project. And then one other person said, you mentioned Light can help you. They're attending Dallas in a few weeks. Any thoughts on that service? What's been your, maybe this is what they mean, but what's been your experience with them? Has the pricing, has the customer seen the value in the pricing models maybe that they offer? Anything you want to share with that person?
Sure. I mean, even heading to the Dallas, that's a great first step for you to do that. I was actually a mentor at the last class in Dallas, a couple months ago at Like and Help Use facilities. But they're a great team as well. They have a lot of people. Sometimes, I know there's other line designers out there, but let's say they have a team of 20, so they can handle multiple projects and not get bogged down if it was just one or two designers, that it might create a bottleneck. But we've used them on a lot of projects where they have different levels of services. So they have what's called a core package, and that allows a very budgetary. The customer is not involved. There's no Zoom calls with Like and Help You, but they will still do the design for you. They'll still give you the specification, bill of materials, that type of thing. And then, they have the signature packages where they'll do 3D models and sketches. So they have something to meet anybody's budget. But the value is definitely there. They deliver a great experience as well. They're a nice extension, and they are a true partner. They'll work as a partner and not as an independent. You're part of the team, and they're part of your team. Mhm.
Yeah, and I think you make a great point there. So there's a lot of great lighting designers out there. I want to be absolutely clear. In the integration space, a lot of times the top 5% of homes maybe have already have a lighting designer involved. And all the integrators I've talked to are all saying, look, we're not looking to change the spec. If there's a high-end lighting designer involved, we're going to deliver what we can. We'd love to work with them and have them try to specify lines we can provide, but it's all about what the lighting designer's vision is. But then with Light Can Help You, the thing that makes them a little bit different is they cater specifically to the integration industry and the integration channel. So they know more about control maybe than a lot of lighting designers that are outside the space. They also have, as you said, Larry, different layers. They mock up the customer's blueprint, and then they inject the lighting into it. And so the customer's actually seeing their home for the first time, filled with, as you said, 15 layers of lighting, and they can start removing those layers of lighting and saying, we can go to any price point that you'd like to go to. What are you willing to sacrifice? And most customers, once they've seen what it can be, never want to go back to what it would have been after that.
Very true.
So yeah. So we talk about them. That's who you utilize, and they're a wonderful, wonderful team. Like I said, there are some other great ones, but they cater specifically to the integration space. So I think, Larry, I think that's it. We've gone through quite a bit of time. We got a lot of great questions. Everybody, thank you for attending. Thank you for the great questions. Larry, we can't thank you enough for your time and your support. We wish you all the best, you and your team. And you want to give your email address one more time in case anyone has any questions or wants to contact you?
Sure, Patrick, Trip, and thank you and your team for being there for us. Everyone, my email is larry@automated-lifestyles.com. Again, just reach out. I'm happy to help you.
Awesome. Larry, thank you. Trip, thanks
Thanks,
for
Larry.
taking this from the airport. Everyone else, thank you for joining. We're here to help if we can in any way, as is Larry. And everybody have a great afternoon. Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Take care.